All right. So now I'm really excited to introduce, I think, our first international speakers of the series, Anna and Raphael, who are zooming in all the way across the pond in London. Anna is the brand production manager at Zendesk. She leads the launch of events and branding initiatives globally within the creative team. And previously, she launched marketing campaigns at Google internationally across the Google Partners ecosystem. Raphael is the creative director at Zendesk. He's currently overseeing all physical brand aspects, as well as managing a number of initiatives, which you'll hear about. And he has some really cool creative side projects, side hustles, including Still Magazine and The Retail Psychologist that you can check out later. Join me in welcoming Anna and Raphael. Give them some love. Welcome them in the chat. And here you go. Switch off.
Sweet. Thanks, Micah. Let's see if we can engineer another smooth transition. Video on.
Well done.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Sweet. Over to you, Anna.
Great. Thanks, Enrique. And thank you, Micah, for such an insightful presentation. We do agree with what Micah said, that your brand is everything you do. And we actually would like to take in this presentation today this a little one step further. Your brand is everything you do, but how do you make sure that everything you do is consistent across teams globally? So this is what we're going to talk about today, how Zendesk scaled its brand. And let's just jump right into it. So this is the creative team, what you see here on the screen. It's one big family of like 120 people plus. We sit all over the world. And this photo was taken last year in Los Angeles, where we met for our annual global offsite. Obviously, this year we couldn't make it for obvious reasons, but it's that time is very precious to us because we get to meet people face to face and also like to share the different experiences that are happening in our world in the different offices. And here at the back, you can see the two faces of your speakers today. One of them is obviously myself. My name is Anna Cirera, and I am the manager of the brand production team at Zendesk.
This is Raph. Hi. Anna and I were always joined by the hip. We always do things together in this picture, in this presentation. Thanks for having us.
Yes. Yes. Basically, at Zendesk, like a creative always goes with a producer together. So this is what we do it. Okay, so here you can see. Well, for those of you who know Zendesk, you know that our brand is different. It's well, the main characteristic of the brand is that it's slightly weird sometimes, and it comes all the way from the top. This is our CEO, Mikkel. He's Danish, and he likes to keep it weird and spicy. So this is when he actually, well, when we launched our platform a couple of years ago, he was on stage with a yellow suit, which actually matched the product brand, the same color. So yeah, so he tends to give us feedbacks in design, critiques, and tell us like, okay, this is all very nice, but how can you make it actually different? So it's easier said than done to make things different, especially when you have like when you work at a company that has such a rapid growth. We are at the moment around 4,000 people, 4,000 employees at Zendesk, and the brand team actually represents less than 1% of the whole company. We have people sitting from in all over the planet, and well, and then obviously that means that we get requests from every single team in every single like different office. And this can be sometimes like a challenge. And I know this slide can look intimidating for a few of you, but what we're going to talk about today is actually relevant for like big companies, but also for like smaller companies. So yeah, you can actually like get all type of requests. Here's a little example. Raph, you want to act this?
Yeah, let's act it out. Okay, so Anna, I need a unique, special, urgent asset from you, and I do need it right now, pretty please.
Of course, we have been sitting here waiting just for your special, urgent request all day. How can we help? So this is, yeah, and then example number 2. I created this campaign with my new agency that specializes in marketing with ponies.
Oh, ponies, yeah. And shipping today? That's great. I mean, do you think we could at least maybe change that Comic Sans font still? Maybe, please. Right. So, I'm sure you know these examples, and as we've grown into a bigger and bigger company, this has become a more and more pressing problem from us. And so, in many ways, it felt a bit like we were sort of in a Wild West scenario where everybody sort of shoots from the hip. You get a project in this one task, and you just react to it. And you might do an amazing design. You might, have a lot of pressure to ship something fast, and it's sort of, half good. And it means, we have sort of little oversight of what ships, different designers, different creators working on different stuff. And it means, you end up with duplicates of work because you might not realize that, certain people work on similar stuff at the same time. And, even worse, let's face it, I think as designers, we all know that, there's always a series of solutions for one problem. And, a lot of what we do is sometimes also subjective. And so if you work on stuff in parallel, you create inconsistencies. And, somebody on the marketing team might also get really confused because they're like, you give me this, the next day you give me this. So which one is it? Right. And, because we're sort of in this Wild West, like everybody is just going for it set up, it's also quite hard to actually learn and improve. And so, we started thinking about what would be, wild dreams rather than Wild West, and how can we bring these different, pieces together and make it more than the sum of its parts? And what would be, a system for us that creates visibility for everyone, allows us to reuse and adapt work rather than duplicate, be much more consistent in our output, be consistently spicy and different, and how can we better learn and adjust as we go along? So yeah, that's what we set out to do. And we called it our special secret project, Brandland. And I think for all of us, immediately, this was sort of, a bit of a Disneyland kind of place where, everybody is happy, and it would be sort of a place where we can brainwash Zendesk and our agencies to really be on brand and actually love it. And this was a brand initiative. This didn't come from marketing. This didn't come from another place. This was us trying to make our lives and our work better. And we sold this into the top. Toke is our chief creative officer. He reports to Mikkel, the CEO, the guy in the golden suit. And so we got the approval from the top, and it sort of means, in a bigger company, it means that there's a lot of eyes on it, and people are going to make sure you deliver. So we sort of put on the pressure ourselves. And yeah, so we got into things. We had an offsite, as Anna mentioned, and we really dug deep into what we already had, the guidelines we had, and we tried to start breaking those silos. You might have, a designer, a copywriter, a video person, an animator, an experienced designer working on different things. And so how can we step outside of these roles and, look from the outside and try to create systems that work across that? And obviously we looked at, different benchmarks in terms of tools that we could use and what other companies were doing. So we really got into the role of things.
Yeah, and after 3 months, this was Brandland. So basically, we only got to the foundations. But why did this happen? So as Raf mentioned, like everybody was working during the offset with their little teams, like the different disciplines. So that what happened is that we realized afterwards that there was a lot of overlap, and that everybody was creating like a completely different like type of guidelines for their own pods. And also there was like a lot of people working on it. There was not like a single owner who we could like go back to and ask for like timelines and kind of like keep track of it. And then after a while of like this huge mess, like people were kind of like stuck on their day-to-day tasks as well, and we kind of like lost interest. However, as Raf mentioned earlier, this was listed as like one of the key priorities for our chief creative officer. So as the end of the quarter was approaching, he got into panic mode, and he started like slacking, literally like bombarding the whole creative team with Slack messages for us to kind of like get back on track. And we actually did get back on track.
Exactly. And so we were on a roll again. We did this photo shoot with an artist called Livio, who did these still lives for us. And we spend a lot of time on web design. I just saw somebody mention Adam Ho in the chat. Yes, Adam did amazing work for us there, building the site. I think I just realized that I forgot.
It's a good day in Brand. It's a good day in Brandland.
Oh, you can hear it. Sweet. So this was our jingle. And this is literally the first time we played this publicly, because this didn't quite ship. But back to Disneyland and this happy place, we really tried to pull all the stops. And we pushed it live, brandland.zendesk.com. This is publicly accessible. So just type it into your browser and check it out. And this was a lot of talk. You might wonder, what is it? And so, it's essentially three things in one. It's our online design guidelines, and it's important that it's online. It's not a static PDF that has 17 versions and everybody's looking at something else. This is a website that's always updated, and everybody just browses that. And so that's, obviously, everything that you've seen in Micah's talk, from the typography to the imagery to the tone of voice to the colors, but we also really try to push how much information you can find in there. And so if you care about how far apart the slats are in our office walls, the wooden slats, that's in there. And if you want to know what type of smell we pump into the air at an event, that's in there as well. So check it out. Secondly, there's the DAM. So DAM stands for Digital Asset Manager. It's sort of production nerd talk, but it sort of literally does what it says. It helped us damn our team from getting repeat requests. And so if you need a logo, if you need a certain image, you log in there, you download it, you've got it. We didn't lift a finger. And then finally, the Help Center is sort of an internal tooling thing where we talk about processes and how to work with creative and the brand team, and how we set up projects when we do need to actually create something custom for you. Sweet. And so, you think it ends there, we shipped it, and I think that was a really, really important part of this project. We took this around the world. And I think, as designers, we're super passionate, we burn the midnight oil, we work on something for 6 months, and we just assume that everybody sees it, or at least, once they see it, knows the value of something. And I hate to break it to you, but that's just not true. And so particularly now in a growing company, you have to socialize the heck out of things. And so we took this around the world. We went into town halls and we joined marketing all hands, and we presented it to them. We sort of incentivized them with swag and made little competitions, and people actually started using them.
Yeah, so I've seen on the chat a few people asking which system do we use for the DAM. We use Binder, and thanks to Binder, we are able, obviously thanks to the DAM, we're able to download some reports and some stats on what actually is happening and how people are interacting with the tool. And what was interesting is that after like 18 months, there was like 100,000 downloads from the DAM. And this is great, because it means that all those 100,000 downloads would have probably been a ticket or an email or a Slack message that less than 1% of the company would have to deal with. So it's a great success. Yeah, and it's not only data that proves that, it's also like some really great feedback from different teams in the company. Well, first, of course, like Toke, and to wrap up the story from before, like he managed to achieve his priorities by the end of the quarter, because we launched Brandland on time. So he actually he loves Brandland, So, and then we had great feedback from also like marketing people, which, for instance, Stephanie, who says Brandland gives the transparency of finding everything in one place. And then also like our creative agency partners across the world like shared constant like quotes on like how happy they are to work with that tool. For instance, like Phantom in London, they said Brandland is making it a breeze to work with and execute what's distinctively unique about Zendesk each and every time. So yeah, and the dreams can come true, and actually this is a dream that came true, because we are allowing people to self-service, which is actually really important for us in order to increase the efficiency of the teams working with and launching creative initiatives. External work is more on brand, meaning that agencies globally, they are able to get onboarded instantly because they can go back to Brandland and pick whatever they need from there. And what's most importantly is that the brand team at Zendesk started thinking more globally. We started thinking big. We realized that systems and processes that we put in place actually work really well and allow us to work in a more consistent way across the company. Thanks for the alarm, Raf. I know we are at time.
Yes, pressure's on. And how do I stop this alarm? There we go. Cool. So just quickly to come back to Enrique's quadrants here. There's 20 levers on how brand or design, I guess more broadly, can actually impact your bottom line. I mean, this was very much an internal tooling piece, and so I think it saves us a lot of money in that we're much more effective, our team and also other teams such as marketing and sales. And so that definitely saves money. We can dig into this more in the Q&A. In terms of making money, it definitely helps us to be more consistent, and to bring it back to our CEO, to be spicy more consistently. And brand perception, also Micah's example, Coca-Cola, it keeps sending you the same thing. You're being consistent, you grow your brand awareness, and obviously that filters down the funnel and you make transactions. So we're sure this makes us money, but it's really hard to put an actual number on it because it's a few dominoes down the chain. Cool. And so 4 takeaways. Start systems early. Anna said, this is relevant for small teams, smaller companies, startups, as much as a big company. And I think this is very true, particularly because this was a big piece of work for us, and it took a lot of time across the whole team. And I think it was the case because we're already that big. If you are 2 or 3 designers, 100 people in your company, do a Dropbox, start some simple website. If you start it now, it will grow with you and it will be much easier. So just do it, start early. The shared ownership part was really important. We really started this off with, every single person on the team, essentially. So everybody contributed, and it means everybody was invested and also then helped to carry it out and actually, promote the thing. And so that's really important. Of course, as Anna said, at some point then it sort of got lost because everybody was in charge and no one. So it's also important that obviously, you put on the management teams and, sort of you designate the runners that will pull it through. Ship quickly and start iterating. I think we tried to create something really beautiful and we really pushed it and then launched it. I think we probably could have started earlier. And I'm saying that because some of our teams actually started using, PDFs and screenshots from the web prototypes, just because there was so much good information in this already, and it took us a while to ship it. And so we just started briefing, marketing teams and agencies with work in progress. And then finally, again, the roadshow, socialize as much as you can. And, you might get really bored hearing yourself talking about your work, but, it's needed. Just socialize as much as you can.